Hey guys, welcome to another WoW video, and it is time, guys. The Shadowlands Alpha is almost here. They have made a post this week saying that invites are gonna start going out this week, and for once they are finally doing it right, and they made mention that if you are a longtime player and your account's in good standing, you will pretty much have priority, and I love that. I think that is very good to do, because someone who, say like myself, who has played since vanilla and kept playing all these years, knows the system and knows things that are there, things that used to be, all that. I also love that they're gonna take, high-end raiders and have them testing raid content and get people who are experienced in PvP testing that. I very much do believe that we need that. We need people who are experienced in those specific categories, rather than just some rando that just happens to get an invite to a game that they don't even play, right? I've noticed that so much over the years. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to the alpha. And if you do get in, definitely, share your thoughts with Blizzard on what you're experiencing, because we need people like that, so that we don't end up with another BFA. And on that note, let's get into the video. I think our, almost 3-minute intro is long enough. So let's check out what the classes have to offer as far as we know now. Okay, so I think the best place to start is the character that I main, which is my Night Elf Druid. Okay, so for the Druids, all specs will be able to use Ferocious Bite, Cyclone, Stampeding Roar, Bark Skin, and Iron Fur. And then the Heart of the Wild talent will also give you an option to use your off-roll abilities during combat. Now for the balance spec, the Wrath and Starfire is going to alternate the lunar and solar eclipse for a longer duration. Star Surge is going to actually increase the eclipse to continue focusing power into Wrath or Starfire, depending what's going on in that situation. And Starfall is going to go back to what it used to be. And that's basically all we know so far as balance. And for Feral, it's the Blood Talons. So when the Ferals use Shred, Rake, or Ferocious Bite, the damage of your next rip will increase. And it's supposed to be a pretty big increase, so I guess we'll see how it plays out. For the Guardian spec, your renewal is going to be a talent again, and it will heal your Druid for quite a bit of health. And the Berserk will reduce the cooldown of your Thrash, Growl, Mangle, and Frenzied regen. For the Resto spec, your Swift Mend is gonna go back to how it used to be as well, consuming a heal over time effect. And that also has a reduced cooldown and cost to it. Your Nourish is going to now receive triple your Mastery and Harmony, which increases the healing. And your nature swiftness is gonna allow regrowth, rebirth, and entangling roots to be casted instantly. Okay, so next up we have the Death Knight. So all the specs are now gonna have Death and Decay, Anti-Magic Zone, Raised Dead, Chains of Ice, and Lichborn. And the Sacrificial Pact will sacrifice one of your undead minions, siphoning their health and causing them to explode and deal damage to nearby enemies. For the Blood spec, your Rune Tap is now baseline. You will have the Blood Tap, which allows Death Knights to consume essence from slain enemies to generate a rune, and it's repeatable whenever a bone shield charge is used. Also, you'll have Relish in Blood, which will heal bloody bruisers for each active bone shield charge and grant 5 runic power when your Death and Decay is cast, while your Crimson Scourge is active. Frost is getting something amazing, and it is that you can now choose between your one-hand and two-hand weapons again. The Frost Worm's Fury is baseline, and there will be a new talent. It's called the Hypothermic Presence, and it has the runic power cost of abilities for like moderate amount of time. Unholy. Your Summon Gargoyle is now baseline. Army of the Damned, which is a talent, is gonna return with a stronger force with a familiar and faithful recruit, a Magus of the Dead. These formidable magic wielders have fought side by side with Maldraxxus Bannermen, and their presence rallies unholy Death Knights' ghoulish armies, lobbying Frostbolt and Shadowbolt spells into the enemy. Your Army of the Dead reduces your Death Coal and Epidemic casts. Apocalypse will be reduced by Death Coal and Epidemic casts, and now also comes with a Magus of the Dead. And your Mastery Dreadblade will increase your Death Knight shadow damage and damage of your minions. Okay, next up we have the Mage. So all the specs for the Mage will have access to Arcane Explosion, Fire Blast, Frostbolt, Fire Ward, Frost Ward, and the Mirror Image. Alter Time. So when cast, this spell gives the Mage the ability to return to their initial location with the same health and mana after casting it a second time or after a short duration. Focus Magic, which is a talent, grants an ally a slight bonus to their spell crit hit chance, and in addition, when the ally critically hits with a spell, the Arcane Mage receives the same boon for a short period of time. For the Arcane spec, Clear Casting has an additional stack. Your Mastery Savant now extends its damage increasing properties beyond Arcane Blast and Barrage to all spells. The Touch of the Magi is now baseline, and your Enlightened is while the Arcane Mage's mana is above a certain threshold, it empowers all arcane damage dealt by a moderate amount. When below that threshold, it significantly increases mana regen. For your Fire spec, Mastery Ignite has been reworked. Fire Blast now serves as the catalyst. When used against an enemy who is ignited, it spreads up to 8 enemies close to your target. Blast Wave does more damage now, and it has an increased slow duration. Kindling, your combustion cooldown reduction is increased. And Pyroclasm, your damage bonus to Pyroblast is increased. For the Frost spec, you will have your Flurry's Winter's Chill. Your Winter's Chill is now a longer debuff that causes Frost Mage's next 2 spells to treat the target as frozen, a debuff that increases the critical hit chance from the Frost Mage and their allies against the target. Okay, next up we have the Shaman. All specs will be able to use Chain Heal, Chain Lightning, your Healing, Stream Totem, Flame Tongue Weapon, Flame Shock, Frost Shock, Lightning Shield, and Searing Totem. Your Elemental spec, Maelstrom Resource has been removed, making Elemental cooldown management focused. Earth Shock builds stacks of Fulmination to determine when to insert Earth Shock into the rotation, and Earthquake enabled by Chain Lightning and stacks of Seismic Thunder. Your Echoing Shock talent blasts a target for significant damage and makes the next healing or damage dealing spell cast a second time shortly afterward for free. Enhancement spec. Maelstrom Resource has been removed, making enhancement cooldown management focused with high points built around repeat casts of Storm Strike. Chain casting certain abilities will allow them to unleash devastatingly powerful cooldowns. Maelstrom Weapon. Attacks have a chance to grant a stacking buff, which makes spells instant cast. Elemental Blast is a talent, and it grants a powerful ranged attack option, which benefits from Maelstrom Weapon's cast time reduction. Hailstorm talent has been redone. Using Storm Strike resets the cooldown of Flame and Frost Shock. Searing Assault, which is a talent, a powerful fire attack strikes the foe for significant fire damage while causing Searing Totem and Flame Shock to deal damage much faster. Overcharge talent has been redone. It generates 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon instantly and another stack every second for a short duration. Stormkeeper talent makes the next 2 lightning bolt or chain lightning casts instant with bonus damage. It now benefits from Maelstrom Weapon, lowering Stormkeeper's cast time in order to chain powerful abilities. For the Resto spec, Earth Shield is baseline now, so it is not a talent. And Surge of the Earth, which is a talent, expends a few charges of Earth Shield to significantly heal the target and several nearby allies. Okay, next up we have the Rogue. Don't mind her massive corruption she's got going on her face. And for the Rogue, the baseline abilities that all specs will be able to use is instant poison, crippling poison, and numbing poison. So all your poisons, basically. Shiv now allows a concentrated version of poison to infect the target for a short duration. And your pickpocket will frequently uncover new ingredients that can be mixed into their crimson vial, augmenting its power the next time the rogue drinks it. For the assassination spec, Shiv, bonus effect, provides a moment of increased nature damage on the victim, mirroring the gameplay of Toxic Blade. Poisons, you will have stronger poisons apply to blades faster and always infect targets when attacking from stealth. Ambush will have an initial attack from stealth. Blindside is a talent. It has a chance to access ambush while out of stealth with a higher chance on lower health. And Toxic Blade, which is a talent, reduces your Shiv's cooldown. For the Outlaw spec, Roll the Bones. Removed the combo point required for a modifiable cooldown, which can be manipulated to line up with their staggering finishing move. Restless Blades. Frantic Combat will reduce the cooldown of Roll the Bones by spending combo points. Kidney Shot returns to Outlaw's toolkit between the eyes, making their foes more susceptible to their critical strikes instead of stunning them. Evasion will return as Outlaw's defensive ability. Riposte talent is an upgraded talent option, and Retractable Hook, which is a talent, now also increases the speed of the rogue's grappling hook. And for the sub-spec, Find Weakness. Attacking from stealth and other abilities allow the rogue to bypass their target's armor, but also causes additional shadow damage when they are struck by an eviscerate. Shadow Vault talent. New AoE finisher, which also assaults targets with their Find Weakness for additional shadow damage. Dark Shadow, now passively part of Shadow Dance, but increases its cooldown. And Rupture, Dot Bleed finishing move. Okay, so next we have the Hunter. All Hunter specs will be able to use the Arcane Shot, Eyes of the Beast, Hunter's Mark, Kill Shot, Scare Beast, and Tranquilizing Shot. And your stable will get an increase. Beast Mastery, your Bloodshed talent. Beast Mastery hunters teach their companions to tear into their target. The unfortunate quarry will bleed significantly, causing them to take more damage from their pet. Scent of Blood is a talent which has been reworked. This passive now activates when Bestial Wrath is used, granting 2 charges of Barb Shot to bloody a target and empower their bonded beast to take down threats quickly. Venomous Bite, which is also a talent that's been reworked, moved to Spitting Cobra's place in the talent tree. When Bestial Wrath ends, a cobra will come to aid the hunter in combat. The serpent's power will increase based on how many times they used Cobra Shot during Bestial Wrath. For your marksman spec, Deadeye, which is a talent, lets the hunter store 2 charges of Kill Shot. It also makes Aim Shot recharge faster for a short time whenever Kill Shot is used. Binding Shackles, which is a passive talent, causes enemies rooted by their baseline Binding Shot to deal less damage to the hunter for a short time after being released from the root. Volley, this one I'm excited for. I've missed Volley. Volley, which is a talent, enables the marksman hunter to rain arrows down on a targeted area over a short period of time. It also empowers the hunter with the Trick Shots buff, causing all their Aim Shot and rapid fire abilities to ricochet and hit up to 5 additional targets for half the damage for the entire duration of Volley. And Survival spec. Damage increases to your Hydra's Bite, Butchery, Steel Trap, Tip of the Spear, and Flanking Strike, and your chakrams have a reduction in focus cost. And that concludes what we know so far on the Hunter. Okay, next up we have the Priest. All specs for the Priest will be able to use Mind Blast, Mind Soothe, Power Infusion, Shadow Word Death, and Shadow Word Pain. Power Infusion has been reworked and it can now be cast on allies. The Discipline spec. Light's Caress, which is a talent. This enables disciplined priests to heal their allies by blessing them with the power word Barrier and healing them again if they're still under the barrier when it expires. Shadow Covenant, which is a talent rework. This instantly heals a chosen hero and 4 other injured allies with a small area and moderately increases the damage the priest deals for a short period of time during which they cannot cast any holy spells. Mind Blast will provide a powerful burst of damage and atonement healing, along with an absorb shield for a significant mana cost. Holy Spec. Your Circle of Healing is now baseline, and your Prayer Circle talent empowers a Circle of Healing, reducing the cast time of Prayer of Healing moderately for a short period of time when cast. Shadow Spec. Death and Madness, which is a talent. Each time a target dies after being slain with Shadow Word Death, the Shadow Priest gains a substantial amount of insanity over a few seconds. In addition, Shadow Word Death resets, instantly ready to use on their next victim. Surrender to Madness, which is a talent reworked. Merging current Dark Ascension and Surrender to Madness, the Shadow Priest instantly gains a huge spike of insanity and casts a Void Eruption on the target. Over a long duration, insanity generating abilities grant 100% more insanity, and you can cast your spells while moving. However, if the caster fails to slay their target during the buff window, they succumb to the shadows and die. Wow, that one sounds a little severe. Okay. that one definitely sounds a little severe. But that concludes what we know so far of the priest. Okay, next up we have the Demon Hunter. All Demon Hunter specs will be able to use the Immolation Aura, and they now share the Fury resource. For Havoc spec, Unending Hatred expands their Fury maximum capacity. Also, the Essence Break talent. This will deal chaos damage and significantly increases the damage that both Chaos Strike and Blade Dance deal for a short duration. Vengeance spec. Fell Devastation is now baseline. Demonic talent will cause the Demon Hunter to temporarily enter their metamorphosis form following a Fell Devastation. Bulk Extraction talent immediately rips a soul fragment from up to 5 enemies around the Demon Hunter and consumes them. Ruinous Bulwark talent increases the healing of Fell Devastation and converts overhealing into an absorb shield that lasts for a moderate amount of time. And that concludes the Demon Hunter for what we know so far. Okay, next up we have the Warrior. All specs will be able to use Challenging Shout, Execute, Hamstring, Ignore Pain, Intervene, Shield Block, Shield Slam, Slam, Spell Reflection, and Whirlwind. Shadowing Throw now also deals devastating damage against foes protected by an Absorb Shield, and new baseline talents include Double Time and War Machine. So for the Arms spec, Piercing Howl can now be used to slow enemies. Cleave talent has been redone. After striking 3 targets with Whirlwind, Cleave will strike all enemies in front to inflict the Mastery Deep Wounds bleed. Deadly Calm, which is a talent, completely removes the rage cost of the next 4 abilities and passively increases maximum rage by a moderate amount. Dreadnought, which is a talent, now takes on the Seismic Wave Azerite trait, dealing damage to enemies in a line. When hitting 2 targets with sweeping strikes, it will create 2 seismic waves. Fury spec. Fervor of Battle talent. Whirlwind also casts Slam on the primary target and generates additional rage. Onslaught talent. Brutally attack an enemy while enraged for a large amount of damage and generates some rage. Wrecking Ball talent grants a moderate chance for the next whirlwind to deal a devastated amount of damage. The Fresh Meat talent has been redesigned and it now causes Bloodthirst to always grant Enrage the first time Bloodthirst strikes a target. Frothing Berserker talent, upon reaching 100 rage, you gain Hazard and movement speed over a few seconds. And for the Prot spec, Best Served Cold talent increases the damage of Revenge, boosted significantly whenever dodging or parrying removes Revenge rage cost. Menace talent, Intimidating Shout causes all enemies to cower in fear for a substantial amount of time, knocking back all targets except the primary one. Indomitable talent passively increases maximum health by a moderate amount and spending rage heals while the ability is active. Never Surrender talent, it increases Ignore Pain depending on the amount of missing health. And that concludes the warrior for what we know so far. And yes, I know, my warrior is 120, has been since probably a year into this expansion, and is still wearing the legendary helmet from Legion. Like, this is how easy it is to level. I don't even have to be in BFA gear to level characters. Okay, next up we have the Monk. So all specs with the Monk will be able to use Expel Harm, Fortifying Brew, Spinning Crane Kick, and Touch of Death. And the Celestial, which is all three specializations, will also be able to summon their Celestial to the battlefield with all your Invoke talents. Brewmaster can now choose between one-hand and two-hand weapons again, and Shuffle increases the amount of physical damage that's staggered when the monk uses one of several abilities, including Blackout Kick, Cake Smash, and Spinning Crane Kick. Celestial Brew absorbs damage based on the imbiber's attack power. Clash causes both the monk and their target bull rush each other, and at the epicenter of the conflict, root their opponent for short duration. Celestial Flames is a talent, and Drinking Brews has a moderate chance to grant Celestial Flames, which slightly increases Breath of Fire's damage reduction and spreads its periodic damage effect to targets struck with the Spinning Crane Kick. Exploding Keg is a talent. It immolates enemies on impact and binding them for a brief time. Your Invoke Nazao is now baseline, also reworked, and deals additional damage based on stagger damage purified. Touch of Death will also instantly kill any creature with less health than the monk, and also clear remaining stagger damage. For your Mistweaver spec, your Invoke Yulon is now baseline, and Touch of Death now instantly kills any creature with less health than your monk and will spawn healing spheres for their allies. Invoke Chiji has been reworked. Talent strengthens the player's physical damage moderately and healing their allies for part of the damage inflicted on enemies. Chiji also makes Mistweaver monks immune to movement impairing abilities so that they can constantly be on the move during combat. Windwalker spec. Windwalkers can now choose between one-hand and two-hand weapons again. The Invoke Exuon is now baseline. Touch of Death now instantly kills any creatures with less health than the monk and will spawn cheese spears that the Windwalker can consume to perform devastating blows. The Dance of Chi-Ji has a moderate chance to make the next spinning crane kick free to use and deal a significant amount of damage. And that concludes what we know so far for the monk for Shadowlands. Okay, next up we have the Paladin. So all specs for the Paladin will be able to use Blessing of Sacrifice, Hammer of Wrath, Sense Undead, Shield of the Righteous, Turn Evil, and Word of Glory. Holy Power is back to all specializations. Crusader Strike and Hammer of Wrath are your generators, and Spenders are your World of Glory and Shield of the Righteous. Auras are returning. Concentration, Crusader, and Devotion auras. Retribution aura has been reworked. It now allows paladins to avenge fallen allies with a short burst of avenging wrath. Divine Purpose, which is a talent, is now available to all specs. Holy Avenger is a talent, now also available to all specs. Generates a huge burst of holy power. Seraphim talent is also available to all specs. Spend holy power to increase their secondary stats for a moderate amount of time. Now for holy spec. Glimmer of Light is now a level 50 talent row. Aura Mastery now affects the returning auras, not the talents. For the protection spec, Shining Light. Critical hits with Judgment makes your next Word of Glory free. And for the Ret spec, Wake of Ashes is now baselined, and Empyrean Power is now a talent. Crusader Strike has a chance to make your next Divine Storm cost no holy power and deal more damage. And that is what we know so far for the Paladin. Okay, and last but not least, the Warlock. And I just would like to point out that I didn't realize I'd gone and gotten the legendary cloak on so many characters. Just going through my character list here while I do this video for you guys has shown me, the characters that are holding on to that cloak, and yeah. That quest chain can't really be skipped too much, so I'm amazed I put that much work into the cloak. Thought I only did it on a couple of characters. But anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so for all the Warlock specs, you guys can all use Curse of Doom, Curse of Tongues, Curse of Recklessness, Curse of Weakness, and Demonic Circle. The Tongue-Tied talent empowers spells cast on a target with Curse of Tongues, causing them to seal the victim from receiving healing effects, forcing them to succumb to all incoming damage for a moderate amount of time. For the Affliction spec, Unstable Affliction no longer stacks on the target. It now lasts for longer and no longer consumes a soul shard. Malefic Rapture deals damage to all enemies afflicted by their periodic spells, increased for each periodic effect on the target. Sow the Seeds, which is a talent, now embeds 2 additional Seeds of Corruption. Yeah, speaking of corruption, she just looks horrible. We obviously need to get some resistance on this chickie. Moving on to the next spec, Demonology. Dark Pact, which is a talent, now scales with spell power instead of converting a demon's health into a shield for the Warlock. Dark Fury, which is a talent, now also increases the area of effect of Shadow Fury, in addition of reducing the cooldown of Shadow Fury. And for destruction spec, Fire and Brimstone talent now generates 2 soul shard fragments for each additional enemy struck by the Warlock's incinerate. And that concludes the list of, what we know so far for Shadowlands. Keep in mind this will change here and there. Like, we're not even in the alpha yet. So testing hasn't started. So let me know, what do you guys think? What's your favorite change coming into the picture? What character do you main, and what are you excited for? I'm really excited to see the Druid play out. And even although I don't play my priest too terribly often, I am very excited for that negative effect one where you could potentially die. That one sounds interesting. And I am super excited for the 2-hand frost weapons for the Death Knights. And yeah, there's a lot of cool things. Those are just a few that stick out in my mind right now, though. So I hope you enjoyed, and definitely keep an eye out for more content on this channel regarding Shadowlands. I know it's been quite a bit of Animal Crossing lately, and that's just because that's the game I've been playing before Shadowlands stuff hits. And it's perfect timing right now for Shadowlands because I've done all the major stuff in Animal Crossing. So really, if Alpha was to land in my lap tomorrow, I could easily leave Animal Crossing for Shadowlands. Like, yeah, I'm caught up to the point where I can casually play Animal Crossing, even although it's super, super fun, guys. But in the end, WoW always wins over any other game, no matter how hype I am for it. And that's it for this video, so we will see you in the next one. I hope you guys are as excited for Shadowlands Alpha as I am, and have a good one, guys. Bye.